Hello everyone, welcome to Rob's Rogues. It's been a while. It's been a long while. I apologize. With it being summertime, and I've said before, I've been working a lot of overtime, and with it being summertime, the review area that I'm in right now, in my upstairs part of the house, we don't have any air conditioning, and these are the two hottest rooms. I'm sweating bullets up here, so I've been trying to edit a bunch of videos so I don't have to do a lot of filming right now, and I'm failing miserably. But this was something I had to film and I had to share. If you've clicked on the link and you're watching this, then you already know what I have. We're going to be looking at some comic book art. I've never had any comic book art, original comic book art, ever. It's always been something on my comic book bucket list to get, and I've seen some pieces that are really expensive, and really didn't know how to go about getting a hold of some unless you're at a convention and you flip through somebody's portfolio. So what we're going to be looking at is something by Pat Gleason and Mick Gray, who did the inking. Pat Gleason, as we know, has done Batman and Robin, Green Lantern Corps, and he's currently on the Superman Rebirth book. So here's Superman Rebirth from the Superman Reborn storyline. Here is issue 18. So we're going to open up. I have the second page of Superman Reborn, and I'll show the original image here. So here is the original comic book image. As you can tell down here in the bottom, there is our good buddy Tim Drake, who's been held captive by Mr. Oz. And you can see Doomsday right there. And I think that might be Brimstone. Could be Blackfire. I'm not exactly sure. This could be another Superman character. But that is clearly Tim Drake, we could tell by the double R there. Pat Gleason has drawn Tim Drake a few times, not in the Robin series, in the interiors, but he has drawn Tim Drake on the cover of the Robin series, and then, you know, it did some Tim Drake and Batman and Robin. So I was going through Pat Gleason's Bit Cartel, or I believe it's called Bit Cartel. Let me just look it up here, as I'm being very professional about this. Pat Gleason's Big Cartel. So there is the, I'll show you this part here. It says Superman Reborn. Let me scroll up here. There we go. Superman, it's Mr. Oz, Doomsday, Tim Drake, Superman Reborn, number 18, page 2. And there's what I paid for it. I paid $100 for this. So I essentially got two pieces for $100, so about $50 a page. So there's his address right there. Jason Fabok has recently started selling some of his comic commissions, or comic original artwork, on the Big Cartel site. And there's a bunch of other artists. Tony Daniels is another one. So what I have here are the original inks and the original pencils for this page right here. This has got to be one of the coolest pieces in my collection that I've ever owned. I have a little note from Pat Gleason. I'll show you the note here. It says, "Thanks, Rob. Big Tim fan too. With my podcast, Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake, I tagged him in it, was talking about getting this piece and purchasing it. So you can see it's Patrick Gleason, Superman. You can see the blue line paper right there, DC and Vertigo paper that they all use. As inker is Mick Gray. There is issue 18, and this is page 2, and you can see the interiors here. So I will lift this up. This is kind of like the starry field that was put in much later. But here is the original inks that Mick Gray did over the blue line scans. So that is so very cool to know that this became this. How cool is that? So if you're wondering the size, there's this kind of a size comparison of the issue next to the inks right here. It's 17 by 11, so I'm definitely going to get this framed. I don't know if I'm going to get it framed and matted, but the other thing, upon buying this, you get the original inks, but you also get, and probably the coolest thing, you get the original pencils. This is the is definitely the coolest thing. You can see some of the finger smudges and imperfections there's in Doomsday. Now this is in a nice vinyl, plastic case that you would get at a convention to put a print in. So it's about the size you would get at a convention to be able to, you know, put your prints in and stuff. But you can see just some of the smudges that are in here, just from probably his hand or his arm. And of course this all gets cleaned up sometimes digitally, or it gets cleaned up with an actual, you know, ink pen. But there's Tim Drake there. You can see where he had gone out of the lines there, just drawing everything. So it's kind of ironic, he's been drawing the Damian Wayne R for a very long time, so it's actually the Damian Wayne R right there. I didn't really notice it. So some people said, no, that's Damian Wayne. Looking at it like that, it could be considered Damian, but we know it's definitely Tim with the double RR there. But so very cool. So the blue line pencil you can see at the top, you can see it much better there. DC, Vertigo, Penciler, you can see Gleason, Superman, 18, page 2, has the month. So you can see that this was scanned. That's why some of the work is a little bit not dirtier, but a little darker, harder to see. But the cool thing is, like, where all the X's are, that's what's all going to get blacked out. So they wanted to know to have the black in here in the interior. And this was kind of interesting. This didn't come through. I think this was probably done by the colorist with some of the whites in here, which I don't know if the camera could pick it up, but it's supposed to be kind of like some energy and some matter. There's very, very faint blues that are in there. But so very cool. It's a short little video, so this is definitely something I'm going to be hanging up. And he signed both. There's Pat Gleason signature right there, and he signed here. Would be kind of cool if I'm able to meet Mick Gray to get him to sign the inked part of the pages as well. But this by far has to be one of the coolest pieces I have in my collection. And it's funny, being a huge Robin/Batman fan, you would have probably thought I would have gone after an original Tim Drake, you know, centered piece from a Robin issue. But one of the ones, the first I'm able to get my hands on, comes out of a Superman book, and, you know, one little panel of Tim Drake. And for me, that's kind of what made the piece even more special and a little bit less pricey. I think if Superman would have been on this panel, or Batman, it probably would have been in the excess of about $300, maybe even possibly $400, just having Batman. Especially if Superman was on here, being it's his book, it probably would have been a lot higher in price. But that's just so cool to know that these pencils turned in to this $2.99 comic book. That I remember reading the Superman Reborn, and there is Tim Drake, just the little bits that we get of Tim. And one of the other pages was right here that I kind of looked at, that Tim is up close in this panel here, but I thought this was so much cooler, getting a shot of Tim here. And we're kind of wanting to see and want to know who I keep calling him Doctor, but Mr. Oz is, so I'll be very curious to find out who he is. So I just kind of wanted to share this with you. Again, I still can't believe I own an original piece of comic book art. I know there's people that probably own, you know, a lot of different ones, but being that this is my first and it features Tim Drake in the Rebirth era, that I'm sadly missing right now. Hopefully Batman can get back here and get Tim out of his prison cell. We'll flip this back over so you can see the inks. So this will be very cool to get framed. Maybe I'll do a video once I get this all framed. So Pat Gleason, you can go to his Big Cartel page if you want to buy some of these. And this is still up there, but it does say sold out. So if you're going through and going, I wonder who bought this piece, this guy did. So today we've been taking a look at something you can't get because I have the only one, but we've been taking a look at Pat Gleason and Mick Gray's original inks and pencils from Superman Rebirth, issue 18, page 2. How cool is that, guys? And as always, this is Rob. Very happy Rob for Rob's Rogues, signing off saying we will see you guys next time.